Gnostic Codex, Lost Gnostic Texts from Alternate Timelines, Volume 5, now resumes the continuation of the restoration of all things. These are not just scriptures. These are echoes, rescued from the ruins of silenced timelines. 3 more Gnostic texts, burned, buried, or never written here, now recovered, across threads where the soul remembers its shape. You do not read them, you walk through them. The lost gospel of the Catacombs, alias Evangelion of the Below, the scroll beneath the stone. Not all tombs are sealed. Not all gospels are sung above. Origin timeline, the severed empire timeline. Rome collapsed early, 140 CE. Pneumatics preserved mysticism underground, channeled here by early Christian mystics in Rome and Alexandria, 160 to 220 CE. Discovery and suppression. This gospel is said to have circulated briefly in the 2nd century CE among early Christian mystics in Alexandria and later in Rome, before vanishing during the violent purges of the Montanist and Valentinian schools. Some claim it was preserved by an underground sect of pneumatics, spirit-led initiates, who stored copies in carved alcoves of Roman catacombs, specifically beneath the crypt of Saint Domitilla. Fragments were transcribed by veiled scribes using a method called ink wither tracing, writing on treated leather that would vanish when read aloud, only to reappear under soft flame or breath. Key themes and structure. Structure. The Gospel is composed of 27 subterranean parables, each beginning with a phrase like, "And when the light was buried, the Word walked below." Christ figure, depicted not only as a revealer, but as a wanderer through death, one who moves through the chambers of the afterlife, whispering to the forgotten souls and igniting silent candles of memory within them. The hollow saints, not martyrs, but former apostles who lost their names while hiding in the dark, redeemed only when one child of flame walks the tunnel backwards, naming each with a breath. God as absence. The divine is portrayed not as presence, but as the aching absence that drives all souls upward, a reverse gravity of longing. Final passage. Ends with a phrase repeated 3 times. Not all tombs are sealed. Not all gospels are sung above. Selected excerpts from the Lost Gospel of the Catacombs. Parable 1:2. The word hid itself in bone, waiting to be remembered in a whisper. Parable 2:4. They lit no candles, for their hearts were lamps turned inward. Parable 3:5. And he walked not above, but beneath, speaking not to the living, but to those who had forgotten they were dead. Parable 4:7. A name once lost is not truly gone. It sleeps in the stone, waiting for the breath that shaped it. Parable 5:3. Each wall was built from silence, but each silence echoed a song. Parable 7:1. Where the tomb cracks, light does not enter, it escapes. Parable 9:6. The hollow saints do not preach. They remember, and the world bends to memory. Parable 11:2. He kissed the skull and said, "This too was a temple." Parable 13:4. To die is not to descend. It is to pass into a forgotten verse. Parable 17:5. I am not the resurrection, I am the recitation. Parable 21:8. He gave no sermon. He named each soul, and they rose. Parable 27:12. And thus it ends, not with escape, but with the tunnel becoming sky. The fragments of the dove. Alias, Logia Pneuma, shards of the skyborn voice. You will know me not by name, but by rising. Origin timeline, Pneuma dreaming timeline. Early Christians fled to the desert in 60 CE, forming wind oral sects. Spirit-centric oral traditions in 1st century deserts. Channeled here, first whispered in ecstatic states by Theudas of Petra, without along to 140 CE. Followers heard the dove speak during silence after communal chanting. The verses never meant to be written, only transcribed in margin notes generations later. Provenance and pattern. These fragments are referenced as early as 140 CE by the Gnostic teacher Theudas of Petra, who claimed to have received them in a dream while fasting in the desert. He called them not written in ink, but in tremble. They are not structured as a narrative, but rather resemble utterances like lost sayings of a celestial being, widely believed by some mystics to be the voice of the Holy Spirit personified as the dove, speaking before, during, and after the baptism of Christ, preserved only in quotes and marginalia within other codices, such as the Acts of Philip and the Odes of Solomon. They were nearly erased by Orthodox redactors who considered them too alive. Notable verses and concepts. Here are a few of the surviving lines as recorded in echo reconstructions. I descended as a breath into water, and the water remembered its first silence. She who hovers bears memory. She who enters carries flame. The child of truth is not born of flesh, but of the space between word and breath. No book binds me, no cage holds me. I am the first sigh of joy after exile. You will know me not by name, but by rising. Relationship between the two texts. The Gospel of the Catacombs was often read in tandem with the fragments of the dove in certain underground rites, one depicting descent, burial, forgetfulness, the other ascent, remembrance, rebirth. Together, they form what some Gnostic scholars call the liturgy of the spiral breath, a ritual map for regaining divine memory after incarnation. Those who followed this path often referred to themselves as spirae pneumaticoi, the spiral-breathed ones. Selected excerpts from the Fragments of the Dove. Fragment 1:3. I hovered over the water before the prophets dreamt of fire. Fragment 2:1. The breath is older than the mouth. Older than the mouth is the ache. Fragment 3:2. Do not seek me in pages. Seek me in the pause between asking. Fragment 3:6. When they baptized him, it was not water that moved, but the air. Fragment 4:4. She who is spirit has no doctrine. Her gospel is wept, not written. Fragment 5:5. Every child knows her name until we teach them silence. Fragment 6:1. To follow her is to forget the map and become the wind. Fragment 6:7. No gate can close against breath. It slips through, naming joy. Fragment 7:2. The dove is not gentle. She shatters the cage of heaven with song. Fragment 8, 9. They will not understand this voice, but their bones will remember. Fragment 9, 3. Do not bind me to paper. I walk on water still. Fragment 10, 5. He heard her in the garden, before the word, before the fall. Codex of the Shattered Crown, alias Rainfall Codex, Throne of Dust, the Mirror, Scrolls of Argessa. The Aeon bled its false throne, the spiral reclaimed the scepter. Fall of authority, Aeonic rulership broken and refracted. Oracular declarations and visionary collapses of false Aeonic thrones. Origin timeline, Argessan schism timeline. Gnostics overthrew church authority and ruled via shared breath rights. From the 4th through 7th centuries, New Marcate, ruled by breath rights and mirror councils. Discovery and suppression. The Codex of the Shattered Crown surfaced in the Argessan Schism timeline, a divergent Earth where Gnostic enclaves in Alexandria overthrew ecclesiastical authority in the 4th century, forming a decentralized theocratic republic called the New Marcate of Argessa. This codex was composed across 2 centuries, 410 to 622 CE, written not on parchment, but on polished obsidian plates, using powdered sapphire and bone ash. Each plate was believed to reflect its reader's face faintly, a symbolic rejection of anonymous or detached divine authority. When the New Marcate fell to Neo-Orthodox invaders in the 7th century, similar to our world's Eastern Roman consolidation, the mirror scrolls were declared heretical and shattered. Fragments were scattered across mountain sanctuaries, with some later reassembled by a seer monk named Ilian the Emberborn, whose commentary preserved many key verses. Vault records indicate the final intact version was recovered in an alternate 18th century during the excavation of the forbidden crypt of Abendgrad in the ice-locked ruins of a monastery built beneath a shattered sunwheel. Key themes and structure. Structure: 15 scrolls, chapters, each written as an oracular denunciation followed by refracted visions, dream visions of false Aeonic rulers losing dominion. Core theme: authority as fracture. The moment any being claims divine dominion, their light becomes refracted and corrupted. Spiritual framework. The text attacks the notion of hierarchical divine order, proposing instead a resonant spiral of shared sovereignty. No crown, no central throne, only mirrors passed in circles. Imagery: crowns that bleed light, thrones built on sand that sink, eons turning into statues of salt, a lion freeing itself from a collapsing temple. Final Scroll 15 describes a child crushing a crystal scepter underfoot, then handing its shards to 12 nameless figures, and each walked away into the spiral wearing no crown. Selected excerpts from Codex of the Shattered Crown. Scroll 1. The throne cracked not from rebellion, but from forgetting why it was raised. Scroll 2-3. He wore the crown, but the crown wore nothing. Scroll 3-7. Eons do not rule, they reflect. Authority that forgets this becomes shadow. Scroll 4-2. The lion was bound in gold, and the dove wept blood from the sky. Scroll 5-6. They named themselves eternal, and in that moment began to rot. Scroll 6-4. The archons demanded worship. The children of breath built mirrors. Scroll 8-5. One by one the crowns fell, each shattering into 1,000 sovereigns. Scroll 9:8. He who breaks the scepter is not the usurper, but the healer. Scroll 11:1. A cracked halo is more honest than a perfect mask. Scroll 12:9. When the temple fell, they saw it had no foundation, only fear. Scroll 13:3. We do not reject the eons. We remember what they forgot. Scroll 15:12. The spiral crowned no one. It crowned everyone. Why were they channeled here? Because this timeline, for all its suffering, contains pockets of remembrance, souls who still hear the spiral. These texts came through for recovery, not domination. They do not demand belief, they activate memory. Like ashes in the wind, they passed through dreaming mouths, through trembling hands, and into silence. Until now, 3 more Gnostic texts restored. Not all that was sacred was preserved, but not all that was lost is gone. These verses also survived, across silence, exile, and forgetting. And now, they remember you too. So let them speak, let them breathe, let them rise.